Wade is guarding Bryant. Artest looking, gets it to Bryant. Bryant dribbling, has to put it up with the buzzer. Banks it in! He banks in the three! And the Lakers win the game!
Good morning, Syndicate members. It's Wednesday, live from Austin, Texas.
Woo!
My name's Tony Merwin. I got Joe Campert, the king of Facebook groups, hanging out with me. What's going on, baby?
Man, living the dream, right? We were just talking about it backstage. Living the dream. I swear, that's all of us insurance agents. That's what we say every time. Now, good morning. What's up, everybody? Real quick here, we always forget to do this, but I want to say it real quick. If you guys could let StreamYard view your comments, just so like this, we can get Christian here up on the screen and make it interactive. If you guys have any questions, anything like that. But man, yeah, living the dream. I've got a freaking busy week again, which last week was busy, and the week before that I was doing the 5 cities in 5 days, and now tomorrow, I guess I'll get into my weekly win. Tomorrow I am opening the PIA, the Professional Insurance Agents of Texas Expo/convention in San Antonio. So if anybody's in San Antonio area, it's at Sandretti's Ranch, I think is what it's called. So would love to see y'all out there, but I'm opening that tomorrow morning, and then I go straight from there to Houston. Mr. Derek Pierce, he's actually here in the group. What's up, Derek? If you're watching this, we're sponsoring the cornhole tournament, and we're actually playing in the cornhole tournament in Houston tomorrow. So driving to San Antonio tonight, going to open the convention, and then wrapping up the day with some cornhole with some young insurance agents.
Sweet. I have a question for you for cornhole. Are you underhand or are you an overhand tosser?
Hey, y'all, Kobe, baby, that bank shot for the win. Y'all heard it. Yeah, I always piss people off when I play bags because I do shoot overhand, like a basketball. Yep.
Seems easier to me. It's like throwing a paper wad in the trash can. I don't know.
Right. Yeah,
seems
exactly.
Good. That should be
How you
fun,
doing, man?
Awesome. I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. Had a good chance to hang out with my buddy Dave Cheatham out of Illinois. He is a superstar Medicare producer up there. He happened to be in town. He's doing some ad production for some new video ads they're doing for YouTube. Hanging out in town, took me out to dinner, got to hang out with him. And then I am getting ready for not Salt Lake. I keep wanting to call it Salt Lake, but it's the St. Louis Association of Health Underwriters. Yep. Headed up there to do a educational thing for them. So I'm going to go up there and just kind of talk to them about the future of Medicare and kind of what we're seeing, trends, technology changes, et cetera. So that'll be pretty fun. You could say that's my weekly win. They called me up last week and were like, hey, we see you all over the place. You obviously know what you're talking about. Why don't you come out here and educate some of us agents in St. Louis? I said, all right, let's go.
Let's go. Right on. Well, speaking of trends, technology, and everything above, that's like the perfect segue into our guest, because this is what the guy's like. He's a master of it, y'all. And I'm super excited to have Todd here on the call. If you guys haven't seen him around, make sure definitely go follow him. But if you guys could put a little hand clap, a little 100 sign, something there in the comments, and let's welcome our good buddy Todd McLain. And he will introduce himself and let us know how he's changing the game across the board, y'all. What's going on, Todd?
Appreciate it, Joe. Yeah, I got started in this business about 13 years ago. Started up from scratch, a farmer's agency. Struggled for the first little bit and realized the advice I was getting from people, mainly corporate people, was just horrific. I mean, they were freaking telling me to go to an apartment complex and have a pizza party.
Right.
And I needed home and auto insurance. So I followed their advice for about a day. Actually, it was about 30 days because they were in my face about getting some quotas, right? And realized that from that point on, I was in this alone. I had to figure out real quick how to become really efficient in the marketing game and in the follow-up game. And so over the years, trying everything, about 6 years in, I realized all of the different technology out there is just rehashed back-end technology, like all the different platforms that are out there, and people are just putting a different face on it and calling it their platform, right? And it's called UI UX. I'm trying not to get too technical.
Oh, get into the weeds, baby. I love it.
Well, I mean, 6 years in, that's when I was like, oh my God, everybody's just using the same platforms on the back end and not solving any problems. They're just making it look different. And so I realized, okay, I got to figure out this myself. I got to make things more efficient, make things more efficient towards the insurance industry, and really dig in deep. And that took me to the top 5 in Farmers from a production standpoint. Started Agency MVP, which is the first smart technology that ranks and optimizes leads by how valuable they are to an agent and how likely underwriting is going to make them more favorable. So instead of calling back, I call them dumb lists, it would prioritize if people had claims falling off, if people had rate increases at their current carrier, if you were competitive against their current carrier. So all of these machine learning analytics in the background. And I didn't code any of this myself. It's also about finding the right people. So my big win, I guess, this week is I landed 2 of the top engineers in the Philippines on my team. So
right on.
It's, I would not be where I'm at today if I did not recruit the right talent, right? So
that's good.
Talent is everything, and I will pay them before I pay myself. I find way too many times agents don't pay enough and don't risk enough to the right people. Instead, they find cheap people, and it takes down their business or delays their business because they were greedy.
Right.
So I had a lot of ramen noodles the first 6 years, but
let's go back to that real quick, because you talked about talent, right? And if you guys, I can already tell where you're going, and a lot of what Todd does, guys, it requires some immense talent. So I want to go back to, like, okay, so insurance rights, what was okay, I'm going to go into insurance because I don't think you learned how to build agency MVP or how to build all these businesses and stuff just because you started an insurance agency. Take us back a little bit. Like, where did all this come from, where it's like, you know what, I am going to get into the tech space. I am going to get into, obviously, direct mail and obviously everything. Guys, get ready for that. We were talking about some of the numbers and the mailers that this guy's sending out on a weekly basis. It'll blow your freaking mind. But take us back to that starting point. Like, what was it that, you know what, insurance, remove maybe Farmers from it, whatever, just insurance in general, and then obviously as you've stair-stepped through it?
Well, that's the funny thing is, even if it was Farmers, and independents and farmers have the same problems. We all run into the same. It's only consumers who want to shop for insurance. So I would say that the biggest problem was always marketing. It was, how do I generate enough leads to get the closing ratio I need and the follow up? And then it started piling up on me. If I bought 1,000 internet leads, then by the end of the day, I was drowning in these leads lists that were just killing me. So, if I have to give advice on how I got to where I got to, is think of insurance, any business, as really an assembly line. It's the marketing is coming in, and how do I efficiently prioritize working that marketing? And that's really what sparked me off, is because I tried all these different systems to really try to work that marketing leads list and that funnel. And everything was just spam blasting or inefficient follow-up. It was really just a matter of payroll time being wasted in the wrong direction constantly. And so that's where I was like, okay, I have to create technology that's specific to our insurance problem, because if you go to the mortgage industry, the average commission they get is between like $3,000 and $10,000 per loan deal, where we're getting 300 and 500. So like there's a 10x need of efficiency. That's why they'll use things like Salesforce or Zoho and all these other systems, because they don't need that 10x efficiency that we do. We need 10 times the amount of marketing coming in and leads coming in. So that's where I was like, oh shoot, like I'm trying these methods that everybody's saying is working, and they're kind of working for me, but my payroll is killing me to efficiently work these things. I need to build technology geared towards working insurance leads in order to become exponentially more efficient. So that's really how I got to where I got to, is just making that assembly line more efficient.
I love it. I love it. So then let's take like 5 minutes. Talk about agency MVP. Honestly, even if you want to screen share, feel free to do that. We can actually pull up the CRM if you want to on the screen. Just 5 minutes. What is agency MVP? I know you kind of highlighted some of it, but it's a crazy powerful system, y'all.
Yeah. So the main deal with agency MVP is I would say it's similar to everything else on the front, where it has all the automation, the marketing follow up. Analytics, where I really wanted to drive home the differences between the platform and everybody else was if you are working your leads list and you're manually setting up when to follow up for an independent agent who is not generating too much marketing, maybe they're only working off referrals, it's really not that powerful for them because they don't have 10,000 people to follow up with after a year of marketing, right? They might have couple hundred. Well, you can make a couple hundred phone calls easily in the week, right? But it's for those agents who are driving and wanting to grow exponentially and driving a ton of marketing through their platform. If I have 10,000 people to follow up, out of those 10,000, how many of them are with a carrier that just took a major rate increase?
Right.
No system out there except for agency MVP lets you know that. No, how many of them alert you that a claim fell off and now underwriting is more favorable? You have to manually do that in other systems. So the thing with MVP is it's constantly, the cream rises to the top, so that my follow up, if I only have time to make 100 phone calls out of 10,000 that's accumulated, I'm making the best 100 phone calls possible. That's higher. It's also not only ranked by like claims and competitiveness, but it's also ranked by premium per policy and how many policies multi-line households. So that way I'm only focused on the most valuable customers too. So that way my retention is going to be higher, my premium per policy is going to be higher, and each head count, I call them head count outside of the office, but my producers, each producer is going to produce more premium per payroll dollar that I'm spending as well by focusing on those top 100 people. So that's really drove me. And then on the back end, analytics about marketing. That drove me nuts about every other platform, because none of them was worried about what zip codes were really the best, which producer in my office was producing the best per marketing source. That's a big one. A lot of agents who have multi producer offices, you might have one producer and two producers producing around the same amount, but maybe one of them really has a low closing ratio on, say, internet leads, where the other one has double the closing ratio. There's an obvious red flag there, but nobody sees it, right? It might just be working leads. So being able to identify which marketing sources I need to train my people on better and help them with scripts was a really big deal to me. And also, which zip codes should I focus more money in because of my carrier's underwriting ability or competitiveness versus other zip codes. So really that data analytics side of things in becoming more efficient. A lot of agents don't put down pen to paper, what does a 1% increase in closing ratio do for my agency down the road?
Right.
Like, if an agent did that, and they would care a lot more about how they were being, right? That power of renewals gets insane when you get to like a 5% increase. In my office, we had an average 15% increase year over year.
Gosh.
But this is why I was exponentially growing. It was because I was paying attention to my numbers and productivity. And I was an idiot before I got into this business, like dumb. I had no clue what I was doing. I was just a good salesperson that, that they gave a chance to, right? I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to manage people. That was all trial by fire. And it was really that trial by fire that lit underneath me that need to be more efficient. Like, I can't waste this money being inefficient. So, I mean, that's in a nutshell what agency MVP. The one other thing with MVP is it tracks my staff's activities. A lot of the other CRMs do that as well, but the visual side of things, being able to see what they're quoting, how they're quoting, was really just a different view than other systems provide.
Right, that's good. Know your numbers.
So fully a PNC environment.
Yeah, it's
right,
fully
It's for
Sorry, you're cutting out there. Is that me or you?
It's Merwin. Say that again.
You're good.
You're fully P&C, right? Agency
yes.
MVP?
Yeah. It's going to start expanding into Medicare and things like that.
Ooh, into Medicare,
okay.
huh?
So hopefully, we'll see where the world takes us in the next year or two, right? But the goal was ultimately to provide solutions for the insurance space in general.
Yep. I love it. Know your numbers, man. You got to know your numbers. And I think, even you guys, like, even just the 1% matters. And that's the thing though. I think people hear 1% and they're like, it's just 1%. But if you actually look at that spread out over however many years, right? What does that actually look like dollar wise? Right? Like, I think, again, people hear that 1% and it's overlooked. And it's like, well, no, actually it does really matter. And you're right. I think a lot of people just don't even know, right? They think that, hey, you know what? It's working. We're doing good. My people are getting paid, all this, but like, you could be that much more efficient if you had something, that was obviously putting that in front of your face, all that good stuff. So
yeah, something we used to put on a sticky note on my employees is, if you were 1% better a week, what would you do better? Because that's 50% better in a year.
Right.
1%. Like, you can do something 1% better. Come on, make a couple of extra phone calls a week. It makes it more palatable.
Yeah.
So let's
start with just 1% more effort's the best way to start.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about people. So for talent, right? So I think, definitely something we're doing here with Redwood, outside, and I think, Todd, that, like, so outside of our agent owner program, I am, definitely building up the in-house team. And, what are 2 to 3 things, right? Because I think this is something, again, you've done an exceptional job at, as far as finding the talent, but then also retaining the talent. Now, again, you're going to have people, you're going to have turnover, y'all. Like, it just happens, right? But what are 2 to 3 things that when you're going out to seek talent, that you're really looking for? And then what do you, once you're getting them in the office, once you find the talent, what are maybe a couple things that maybe you could share, enlighten some owners on? This is what we're doing to build culture, to keep them in, to want to come to my office and work, right? What are those things? How are you finding them, and then how are you keeping them?
So the biggest way I found to find people is referrals, and it's not just by making an ad on Facebook. Now, since you can't steal my staff, I'll give you the real secret. I basically would ask other successful agents, hey, do you know of any rock star staff that are out there? Right? I'm not coming after your staff. I don't want to know about your staff.
Yeah.
Do you know any other rock stars that are out there that exist? And I just start accumulating names, and then I'd start recruiting. Just, drip them. Hey, if you're not happy with where you're at and you'd like to make a lot more money, I have a marketing machine and a follow-up system that, my top producer is making over $140,000 a year. And she started at $12 an hour. Give me a call. And so I just drip that. I just constantly drip people. Hey, how are you doing? Following up. And I would also not be creepy a lot. I've seen a lot of Facebook messages and things like that. It was really just, hey, how you doing? Just seeing if you're interested. And I'd follow up maybe once every 6 months. And I would find, like, rock stars that are out there. That's how I got those 2 engineers. It was, hey, the environment in the tech world is changing, obviously, right now. And if you're interested in something exciting that's going to revolutionize the insurance space, then we'd love to bring you on. And it just caught him at a really good time, right? That's the whole thing with recruiting solid talent. Just like insurance, you never know if that person's really going to get that insurance bill and see that rate up. But if you are constantly just being friendly and recruiting rock stars, eventually they're going to feel more wanted by you than their current employer.
Right.
Makes sense? Like, they're like, maybe they just got yelled at, right? Maybe they didn't hit quota because of something, right? But they're usually a rock star. It's those moments where they'll give you a call and be like, hey, you know what? I'm actually not happy where I'm at.
Yeah.
Maybe they got into a fight with another employee because they were carrying something I had is they were carrying the weight of the agency on their shoulders and they were sick of the stress. So it's just that asking other agents was really powerful for me, because they don't mind giving up their competition's rock stars.
Right. Yeah, that dude down the street's got a stud, man. Go get that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So it's just one of those ways. Now, obviously, another way that I brought people in was I'd say I'd give you a $1,000 bonus to anybody who refers me a rock star that stays with me for 90 days. Now, just staying with me for 90 days implies they're a rock star because I hire slow, fire fast.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm very picky about who I keep on because I'm not going to waste my time and let them bring my agency down. So if they stayed on 90 days, I'd pay somebody $1,000. One time I did $2,500 when I got a rock star. So to me, good talent is, you might go to somebody like a team hired and pay them $2,500 to $3,000 just to recruit maybe a crappy person. Why not pay a friend $2,500 if they give me a good person, right?
Right.
So that referral bonus helped bring in a lot, and I think that route on Facebook right now with the economy the way that it is a huge win. The bigger the number, the better. For me, $2,500 for a producer was nothing. I would do 10% of payroll in a heartbeat because recruiters charge 20%. So
Right.
Those are the kind of the things that I did.
So, and then some things. So obviously you're Craig Wiggins now. And I feel like it's more recent. I don't think it's been like a long time, but it's probably in the past few months. So obviously you're doing some type of coaching and training and stuff within the office. What are some of those things that you're doing, within your agency that you were doing maybe even before you got to Craig? That again, I think that's just, you said, hey, when it's on their desk, like, can you get 1% better, right? Obviously, some of that is you need somebody to tell you where you could be 1% better, right? So that goes back to knowing the numbers and your inefficiencies and how to improve them. What were some things that you were doing with your team? Even if it was like, hey, we have a company party, like do you guys do holiday parties, or what is that to kind of maintain that culture?
Oh, yeah. I was big on outings, right? Like baseball games, fairs. Took my team to the Turks and Caicos for hitting a big goal. Took them to Vegas a couple of times. Like I was super big into setting goals and then having a big reward for that goal for team building. My day-to-day, one of the things that I did differently than most agents is I took all of the weight of knowing your numbers, marketing. I took all that weight and stress off my producers. So that was my responsibility to have those metrics and to run that marketing and efficiency because nobody was going to do it as good as I was. I would always try to pawn that off because it's the most annoying thing to follow and track. And I hate knowing my numbers, by the way, but I have to, right? Need to and want to are totally two different things. But I would have that. And then what I would do on a daily basis is when I'm tracking those numbers, I would have a lot of incentives. So whether it's, and it wasn't daily, it was more weekly and monthly. It'd be, all right, if you beat your goal by this much, then here's this bonus. And then we would draw your cards. So we'd have a deck of cards, and on each card, it had an amount. And so as they hit tiered levels of production, they would get another card and another card. So each month we would have drawing cards. And some people would win $500 on one card, and some people would win $20. But it was, a lot of salespeople are degenerate gamblers. So it was.
He just got you, Tony. He just got you.
Guilty. Guilty.
So I mean, that was a lot of fun to be able to do that monthly. But I mean, we're salespeople. If you're not in sales, you should not be in the insurance business. I'm sorry. So that's some of the things that we did. And I would also listen to their phone calls, sit down, coach them on things. That was huge. A lot of agents just refuse to listen to phone calls because they don't want to do it. Really, because it does open Pandora's box. Like you will find constant things, and it's really important to know how to coach somebody instead of just constantly finding problems and nagging. There's a method to coaching. It's telling people how good they're doing in certain aspects first, and then hey, let's improve on these things. It's not hey, you suck. Here's why you suck, right? So if you're going to get into that coaching mentality, you've got to do a lot of reflection on how do you properly coach somebody. So that's why I got into Craig Wiggins coaching, because I feel like I've learned so much, not only about the insurance side of things and how to build a machine that scales an agency, but it's also, I've learned so much about how to properly build a team and coach the team and manage the team that sets me apart. And I actually told Craig that I didn't want to be a coach for the longest time. I'm a little too rude, because I can't stand it when people give me excuses that are not valid. Like,
Okay.
Got it. That's an emotional excuse. You just don't want to do it. Like, I can't help you. I can't help somebody that doesn't want to do something, right? But that's why I put in my bio at Craig Wiggins Coaching was like, I'm going to tell you like it is. You might not like me sometimes.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I jumped into that space. Is I
love
agents.
Dude, that call recording piece, bro. And you're right, it does. Because I remember, and I was totally guilty of this. Now, for the most part, I've got all my people in my office, so I can I just listen to them, right? But I remember I had this remote guy, and I mean, all the numbers, everything was like, all the notes and everything were there. Everything. I was like, okay, so one, he wasn't even actually sending out the quotes, so that was my oversight, right? Was that literally he had all the notes, the prices, this, and this, but like he wasn't actually sending the quotes to the person. And I'm just like, I mean, talk about an oversight, right? But then when I started really looking and listening to the calls and all that, I mean, it was like, oh my gosh, I've let this go on for this long. And I didn't even, so, kudos to you on that. And definitely, I've been a culprit of, look, all the numbers, the notes and everything looks super crisp. Like he's good. He's working, right? And then turns out, I start digging, and then I go back like 9 months that he had been with me. And it was like, oh my gosh, like I'm losing money on this guy just by not taking the time, even if it is 10, 15, 20 minutes a day, just to listen through those. Not like you have to listen to every single one. Spot check, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, though, you'll open that Pandora's box and you'll be like, oh shit, like drop the ball on that one. Definitely don't do that anymore.
You know what drives me nuts though is agents then start to blame the producer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, there's a level of which you should blame the producer if they're just not getting it right, and you're having these moments too often. But at the same time, you're a shitty leader.
Right.
If you're not being a good leader, like if you're not training your people, if you're not monitoring where they need help, you're a terrible leader. You shouldn't be in your position. Like, get off the pot. Like, you got to do it.
I think that's an example of the wrong perspective, right? That's the guy that looks at his people like numbers and money in his pocket. He doesn't look at them like people, right? And treat them with the respect as people, that you're trying to grow these people into successful salespeople. You're trying to grow these people into leaders versus like, hey, go sell some shit, make me some more money. Like, what's your problem? Figure it out.
That's the number one thing that what I saw when I went to a very successful agent to another agent who's saying, I can't figure it out. I don't know why it's not working. Was the culture and how they're training and bringing up their people. Number one thing that I saw, right?
Yeah. So leaders, the difference between the leader that sits in the back and whips versus the leader that sits in the front and says, come on, let's go. Follow me.
Right.
It's two different philosophies.
I love this comment right here. I have to put it up. Even though it's Facebook user, you didn't let StreamYard view the Todd McGoat. Right. So this is perfect because we're about to some goat freaking numbers, y'all. This dude dropped 54 million mailers last week. Is that not freaking? That is called Todd McGoat right there. Change your name on StreamYard there, Todd, if you could, dude, because that's freaking amazing. Oh, it's
not all insurance. People are gonna be thinking I'm triple and send in the same mail piece.
Yeah, right. Triple tap, baby. Triple tap.
No. So what we decided to do was build my marketing systems in my agency. So we're talking about my agency.
What's it called for anybody that's listening?
Smarketing Mail. I don't know if I regret the name or not. Because people are like, what is that? It basically means smarter marketing. So smarketingmail.com. Agents can go there and find out. We just released a new website where they can see interactive where their zip codes are available or not, because it is exclusive letters per zip code. But something that drove me nuts in my marketing space was I built my own Philippines telemarketing call center. I had about 20 Philippines people working for me in the Philippines and dialing that. And I realized it's a beast with the TCPA compliance that I kept getting hit with. So then I was like, I got to find another way to market. Tried internet leads. The payroll efficiency was killing me as a captive agent. If you're an independent agent and you are not building a machine with internet leads, by the way, oh my God, like I would crush it right now if I did that nationwide. Just super competitive. So everybody asked me if I'm going to start my independent agency, and I said not yet, but we'll see. But we have. So I tried internet leads, built that machine, and then I realized, I want my phone to ring. That'd be so good if my top rock stars, all they did was answer the phone and close. And that would be huge. So I tried direct mail. I went and tried corporate direct mail. That was a joke. Everything looks like spam. 10 letters go to the same person on the same day. I tried other mail companies that were out there. None of them built their own successful insurance companies. There was one that built an insurance company but failed. So all the direct spam mail that was getting sent out, nobody cared. Like it was just, yeah, sure, here's your mail piece. Go ahead, try. And I had to fix the problem, right? And I started sending out direct mail for myself, realizing real fast it was hard. I wasn't getting the response rates. I wasted probably $250,000 up front trying to figure it out. And finally realized, how it works and why it works and what kind of consumers respond, and slowly built over 3 years this kind of machine, and then realized, hey, if you buy a bunch of expensive printers, you can go undercut other people's pricing. So like we do a ton of direct mail for, big customers out there. Don't repeat who I told you.
Got you. Got you.
But we have, just this kind of direct mail machine that we've built in the background. And I mean, that just goes to show if you know how to run a business, you can really dip your toe into a lot of other side things. It's
absolutely.
Knowing your numbers and knowing how to build people up and knowing how to run. So I kind of disappeared off the face of the earth for a little bit. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not in my group.
I did.
I'm coming back soon. I've been extremely busy building two new companies. So those will hit that. I can't disclose it yet, but it's
awesome.
gonna cost a lot of ruckus.
I'm still stuck on 54 million mailers. That is 1/6 of the entire population of the United States that are getting your mailers.
Well, it's about 50 semi trucks. Let's just put it that way. So
yeah,
wow,
that's a lot. So you've obviously done a lot of direct mail. What would you say makes a good direct mail piece?
Well, the funny thing about direct mail that everyone gets wrong is the envelope. The envelope is the one thing that will make or break your response rate. Everybody thinks it's the ad copy. The ad copy is really important, but it's getting the consumer to actually care enough to open the mail piece. Because how much spam mail do you instantly know is spam and you just throw it right in the spam trash?
Right.
Yeah. So it's about being different. Too many people copy ad copy versus like here's a secret, right? If you're going to do your own mail piece, which I doubt you're going to spend so much money buying those printers, but it's the envelope as a different color is amazing.
It's a different color, so it's not just like a white envelope. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. You're using a colored envelope.
Yep. So just a different colored envelope, and then on the front of it, handwritten or no return address. So with a real stamp. Like, how can I make my mail piece looks like it's coming from somebody other than Citigroup or JP Morgan Chase, right?
Right.
Those big corporate mail pieces that we do are very corporate-y. Like, you can tell this is from corporate. The response rate on those is just horrific, but their legal department makes it a specific way. So if you can look different and get somebody inquisitive enough to open your mail piece, then what makes a really successful mail ad copy is just straight and to the point. Nobody gives a shit about your paragraph that you're going to write to them. They ain't reading it. It's, hey, I'm struggling to pay bills. You can probably save me money. Here's the teaser rate. And give me a call with a call to action that makes it really easy to get in touch with me and that I'm going to talk to a live person, right? So it's it's a multitude of things, but then changing it up. Like I've seen so many people use the same, using the same envelope or using the same ad copy. If you hit the same person 2 years in a row, the third year they're not opening your envelope.
Right.
So it's keeping it fresh and updating it is really important.
Got it. And go ahead, Mervin.
How do you do 54 million mailers that are handwritten with the regular stamp?
No. You're confusing insurance space versus the corporate bill pay and payment center, credit card notices. There's a lot of other.
When I was in the field, I did everything except the colored envelope, right? I created a nice, simple letter, simple ad copy sales letter, because that's the world I came from. So I had no problem writing it. I put a regular envelope together. I hand wrote, either me or my girlfriend or whoever I had around me at the time that I could bribe to help me. And then I put a regular stamp on it. And I did great. I got phenomenal returns on my mail. But I mean, I'm only mailing 300 to 500 of those pieces out as an independent agent that was just out there slinging med-subs back in 2006.
Yeah.
Now if I want to send a large bulk of that, like how in the world, what process do I need to put in place if I want to accomplish a large mass of handwritten rubber stamped envelopes, regular.
Well, and I should also be upfront and honest. That was a quarterly project that happened the prior week.
Yep.
So let's not say that's weekly, because that's impossible.
Yeah.
That was a quarterly statement. That's why I was saying billing and things like that.
Got it. Okay.
So we send on, for just P&C insurance, we're sending $1 million a month. Now that's fluctuated between 1.5 million. Just depends on, a lot of agents scale down during the winter times and things like that. But in order to scale up to that point, you have to have large machines. So on the Facebook group, I posted, the printer that we have, we call it the Wonder Woman printer, a Marvel printer. But, it's a multi-million-dollar machine that can blast those out, and it does everything for you. You just have a couple of workers in the assembly line making sure that it's going. It does everything from the address, the print, the stuffing the envelopes, the adding the zip codes, the USPS marker, basically. So it does it all for you. You're just sitting there with a couple of employees that are just managing the process.
So basically, Tony, if you have $3 million to buy a printer like that, then that's how you do it.
If you're large enough, you can find people. And when I say large enough, your order is large enough. We have some independent agents that are sending out, 5% of our volume. They're doing massive mail prints nationwide, or a couple of states. So we can do custom letters one-off. We just make sure we actually force some of those agents to have specific drop dates, and because we want, the thing that I do differently than most agents or most mail companies is I will not allow a drop to happen in the same week if there's an X date somewhere that one of the customers might drop to. So that's why I really limit the amount of P&C mail that I'm allowed to produce, and we have to go after other things. Is we're limiting the exposure.
I'm trying to step on toes.
Yeah, I won't allow that. I'm not going to be corporate mail.
An X date? What did I miss? If there's not an X date?
Oh yeah, expiration, like renewal date.
Okay.
Policy. Yeah.
Understood.
So for somebody who's say just kind of getting going, maybe they've been in a year or two, right? So we definitely have some newer agents, and then we have some people that maybe aren't necessarily veterans yet, but they're trying to take that next step to level up, right? To just keep pretty much widening the pipeline, right? So they can keep their people fed, they can keep the organization fed. What would you say to somebody who is, hey, you know what, I've got 2 producers, 1 service staff, and myself. I'm thinking about getting into direct mail. Like, what would be maybe your kind of, this is where I would start, and then, maybe kind of what that timeline would look like, or maybe even what your timeline was. Now I think yours might be 10x, a little bit more, just because I think you figured it out, right? You knew your numbers very well. But what would be a starting point for, say, somebody like myself wanting to come in and try it?
I would put the pen to paper on first, if you can stomach what it takes to start in direct mail, because it's a ramp up process. The mail that I send out today, I might have 20% of those people contact me in the next 3 months. And then I'll have 80% contact me within the first month. So it's a lag effect that happens with direct mail. And so a lot of people jump into direct mail and go, oh, shoot, I didn't get the response I needed the first month. I'm going to quit. And that didn't work. Two, the problem that they have is they have the wrong people working the mail piece. I get all the time, I just hired a new producer and we're going to do direct mail for them. And I'm like, you should just give me your money and I'll set it on fire. Like, you just said you're going to give the most expensive lead to a brand new person.
Right.
No, don't do it. We actually talk people out of it all the time. Like, don't do it. Come back to me when they're trained and they're ready to go. Or if you or the agent are going to be taking every single one of these calls. Like, so
right.
Two, you have to have rock stars working direct mail or they won't work because it's too high cost per lead. And then the third thing is they don't send enough volume. Like, so many agents don't want to take the risk of, I don't know if it's going to work. Direct mail works. It's who is working it and how you're working it.
Yep.
It's just, or it wouldn't be, nobody would be sending direct mail. It's the biggest freaking industry that nobody knows that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, but you get spam mail every day, right? It works as long as you work it and you know how to work it and you have the right ad copy and the right envelope. But it's not spending enough money is detrimental because it's a law of numbers. It's a volume game. So I always tell people, if you don't have the resources, it's about, I'm just going to use a rough number because the more you send, the cheaper it gets. The volume that we can get, it makes it less to ship it to your postal service, your hub, basically. Right. So the volume is, but if you send out 5,000 mail pieces per producer and that producer is a rock star, you're going to have success with it after 3 months. Like, our most tenured customers are sending out that average, and that's the sweet spot we found. Anybody who's sending our minimum, which is 3,000, it's rough going because you might not get the call volume you need in order to find those customers, the larger customers that pay for the campaign. And then also for any agent that gets bonuses, it's huge because you'll most likely bonus and make a profit within the first 12 to 18 months, bonus wise. And then a lot of independent agents just crush it with direct mail because their closing ratios are so good. Right. It's almost as good as a referral from a mortgage broker because that customer is calling you and wanting a quote from you, right? It's the most engaging customer that you can get versus, hey, so-and-so told me to call you and I'm one of the 3 possible insurance companies that is competing for your business. Like a direct inbound call. That's why it's so expensive though. Like, you got to understand it's extremely expensive. Yeah. It's so hot to close.
No, I think that's a really good point, especially on having the new producers, because I think a lot of people, they will bring on new staff and they're like, I need more, and then they would go get and spend all that money because they're like, I'm just trying to feed them, and it's like, man, have them work some age data or something like that, right? Don't give them that. And I love that you said, because even like the referral piece, like obviously we work with a lot of mortgage brokerage. We're doing some cool things on that side of things and kind of changing it up over there. But it's like a lot of that too can just be, hey, give this person a call. It's not even that person is even directly reaching out to you. It's like you're a one-off, like you're playing middleman with whoever's actually giving you the referral, but it's not really a referral, right? It's a name and a phone number, right? And who knows if they even told them, hey, by the way, Todd McGoat is about to call you, right? Like, they probably didn't. So I love that you said that, because now what would be your average CPL on that? So for an inbound, for, again, hey, I'm trying to come in, what would be the average cost per lead for a direct mail piece average?
Yeah, it fluctuates throughout the year. In your higher volume call-in months, which are going to be not summer and winter, because everybody's on vacation or it's holidays, so your call volume goes down. Your CPL there is, hovers between 175 and maybe 225 on a really bad month like December. The thing is people think, oh, then I just won't mail that month. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Because your January is so good because the mail you sent in November and December, right? So it fluctuates throughout the year. I'd say my best months is probably January and April, August, September. And, you're probably at 150 at that point. Yep. But the thing is my closing ratio, now this is coming from a captive farmer's agent. My closing ratio between direct mail was around 30%, but my internet leads was 1.5%.
Right.
So here's the big difference that people don't put pen to paper is, what does my payroll cost look like? Not monthly, but in aggregate. And what I mean by aggregate is, if I spend $10 a lead on an internet lead, and those accumulate over time, and I have a 99% fail rate on the rest of those leads, how much payroll time am I going to end up spending to work those leads, and what is the benefit that I get from all of those leads? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because your payroll time increases, which actually increases your cost per lead, but a lot of agents leave out payroll and how inefficient a system becomes, and how much headcount I need, right? Whereas with your direct mail, somebody called you, they were definitely interested at one time. You couldn't close them for one reason or another. And maybe that was an underwriting or pricing reason. Well, insurance is cyclical. You might not be able to close them today, but in 18 months, it might kick their butt because their carrier came in too cheap, right? And now they have to take a massive rate, or maybe maybe they have to roll the whole freaking book, and they have a lot of upset people. So, it's a lot of agents need to think down the road in 18 months, what will this volume and this specific lead source do to the amount of headcount or payroll time that I need? And what does that picture look like before they just go, here's $5,000. Let's see if this thing works. Right. Let's think down the road and what that might do to my marketing systems. It's really important.
And the data, you better be keeping that data if you're going to be paying for that. I know this is you, and that's probably one of the things that pisses you off the most too, because it is that's my thing, dude. Like, if we paid for that, and for whatever reason we didn't close it, right, or whatever it is, you had better kept that freaking data, because you best believe that 6 months from now, or however, and that's what I say, you keep saying it's cyclical, and that's, insurance is all about timing, right? Even like for direct mail, it's all about timing. And it's not that they don't need me, they just don't need me yet, right? There will be a day and a time and a place where it's like, I'm finally, and me and Tony were just talking about it, where I have this one lady, Marcel, like she's rooting for me to win it, because as soon as I got her information, like I'm not even playing, I've been following up with this chick for like 5 years, and she's rooting for me to win, man. But it's like her son, Steven, who drives a Kia Stinger, dude, I swear I know like the whole account because I have all of that data. It's like the dude won't stop getting speeding tickets, so it just makes more sense for them to stay. It's like, damn it. But I love, and I've seen you put stuff out there and post where it's like, dude, if y'all are paying this much, especially if you're paying top dollar, you better be keeping that data, and you better be making sure that your people who are working it are keeping that freaking data. 100%, dude.
I'm glad you brought that up, because something I ran into constantly about data that was a massive problem for anybody that wanted to switch agency MVP or switch from their current company, their current CRM, to agency MVP, was their current CRM didn't store the data properly. You can't get out of it. You can't. Once you put it in there wrong, you can't export it. Or even worse, they would put everything in a notes box.
In the notes, yep.
And you can't export notes in any intelligent way.
Yep.
So you need to make sure, if you're using a CRM, that you're inputting those data inputs in the right fields and using those fields properly, and make sure before you sign up with anyone, can I export every field that I'm entering in? Because then you can move and you're not stuck, and you didn't lose years worth of data and years worth of marketing dollars in a wrong system. And not necessarily the wrong system, but you need to make sure you're not beholden to that one technology company, that if something better comes along, you can shift. So I see that all the time.
And holding the standards in that data too. That was another thing for us, because we've done multiple tech stack kind of overhauls as Redwood has grown. And I remember it was like, don't write out the state. We do all caps and it's abbreviated, right? But then it's like, if you give people the ability, like, so then we almost even started going to drop downs, where so we were removing their ability to type it in incorrectly, right? Or instead of like putting M or F or male or female, they would type it out, or they, and so just those little nuances that we didn't really think mattered. When you go to export, it starts to try to create all the custom fields and all this, and you can't map it. You can't really migrate. You can't do anything with it, right? It's pretty much just lost at that point. So yeah, it's good.
Well, and, a statistic that I had is 50%, actually it's more like 55% of all of our sales from our marketing happened at least 18 months later than when the lead was initially quoted.
Wow.
So I was closing more older leads than new business every month. And that's because of the data, right? Like it was because it was cyclical. I couldn't write them yet. We eventually got them. And again, if you want to put something down on paper, go figure out how much your ROI increases if every 18 months you're returning 50% more. Like
crazy.
So everybody asks me how I make things work. I don't make them work day one, but my systems and processes give me an exponentially better ROI than you're getting. That's why I can scale.
That's good.
So that was really important.
That's awesome. Tony, you got anything for us in closing, my man?
Well, I noticed he's always talking about mailers that generate inbound traffic, which made me just wonder, because in the Medicare final expense space, for example, those little BRC generic cards are super popular, right? Where you mail it out and they have to fill it out, mail it back in, then you go knock on their door and you show them like, hey, you filled this out, kind of thing. So I just made me think, do BRC mailers exist in the PNC space at all? Do people actually do that as an advertising method?
They do, but they don't work. Right. Because Medicare is a little bit of an urgent, like, I know I'm going to have to do this. I have to do this. I'm like, they're constantly thinking about it when the time comes. And that's why a postcard in that space works, is because they're like, oh, here's somebody. All right. I knew I needed to get on this. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to call this person. Right. So you have a good contact rate with postcards in that field. In the insurance world, I don't know what the updated statistic is, and I might be wrong here, so I'm going out on a limb. But I think it's like every 10 to 15 seconds, there's an PNC insurance commercial somewhere on some radio, on some TV. Like it's say 5%, say 15%. Like it's insane how much PNC commercials there are. So that's where people are just immune to any kind of postcard that has auto insurance or home insurance on it. They're just freaking immune to it. And so it goes straight into it. That's why the act of opening a mailer, that commitment, it's weird. When somebody opens a mail piece, they will commit at least 3 seconds to reading it. They took the time to open it, so they're going to read it, right? Now, they're not going to read your paragraph. They don't give a shit. But they're gonna look at the call to action, and they're going to look at what the offer was. And if it's enticing and you caught them at the right moment, they're either going to set it aside or they're going to contact you, right? So that the act of opening a mail piece is what's critical to the PNC side of things. It's also really good for the Medicare side of things because you get that extra commitment. It's just your cost triples when you go from a postcard to a mail piece that's done properly, like the PNC side. So I would A/B test that for sure.
On the inside of the envelope, the letter, the offer piece, whatever, is that a branded piece that you're recommending? Like this agency has their branding all over it as well? Or is this just information text, kind of plain? Like what do you see works better?
Carrier branding is exponentially more important than agency branding.
Okay.
On the mail piece.
Nobody cares about you. They want to know who's promising me something.
Right.
People could care less these days about their relationships with people. It's getting sad, right? I'm not saying that it's a good thing, by the way. You went from 30% preferred relationships to like 15, right? Like it's a shopping dog eat dog world out there because of the marketing that's being pushed. So I would definitely recommend if you offer multiple high-end carriers, that those are bold and bigger than the smaller carriers. Like how well known is a carrier? Those are the biggest ones. And then we also offer the smaller carriers. That's really important because now it makes it look like, okay, this guy has all these opportunities for me. He's going to help me shop and get the best rate. And then these well-known people he associates with. So I'm going to go that route. Your agency logo should be smaller than the carrier's logo.
It's good. It's good information. I didn't even think about that. As far as like on the actual letter itself too. And like, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking of it like, if I'm going to do a huge mailer, like I'm not just going to put like Encompass, right? Or it's like if I had to choose between Encompass, which everybody's like, what is Encompass? Well, it's like an all-state company. They all run off the same freaking system. It's same discounts, everything, but it's just called Encompass and nobody knows it, versus like Progressive or Allstate or Nationwide, right? Or something like that. No, that's really good.
Well, and your pride will make you want to put your agency logo bigger than those carriers.
Yep.
How much money do you spend on marketing? How much money do they spend on marketing?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Focus what the consumer cares about, not what your pride cares about.
It's good.
Unless you want to spend $1 billion on your logo, then I'd say go for it.
Understood completely. Yeah, agency branding is definitely a pride thing. We love to see our brand, our name, our pictures going out there. Like, feels really good.
Oh, yeah.
But I've done terrible with branded mailers. So I just go right back to generic ones. I pull great and just run from there.
So where you're going to find success, Tony, is those things that I told you, making sure that you're focused more from the consumer side of things and getting them to commit to reading it. And then we use some eye tracking software as well that tracks where somebody's eyes go on a page. It's like a heat map. It shows what is driving their attention on your ad copy. And a lot of agents have the wrong things. Like, they'll have their logo being what drives the eye movement of the ad copy. Again, nobody gives a crap about your logo, but that's what they're really centering on the page or on the ad copy, and that's the wrong brand. That's the wrong ad copy. So using something like eye tracking software is pretty important too, to making sure that they're looking at the right offer, that your offer is standing out properly.
That's good. Gosh, I didn't even know there was such thing.
I'm still trying to figure out how you develop that. Like, how do you develop an eye tracking software to see where someone looks at an envelope and you know where they're looking at?
It has to do with most marketing. Almost every corporate entity uses I call it eye tracking. I would butcher it if I told you what the real name. I can get the real name out to you guys, but it's a service that you can pay, and it basically just says what is standing out on the page where someone is likely to look. Does that make sense? And it does make a difference, because you want to make sure that your call to action is front and center, the thing that pops.
Right.
Yeah.
It's good.
Awesome.
Gosh, dude.
Good stuff, man. Thank you for coming on today. This has been a huge pleasure.
Sure.
What's next? Well, I know you said you have a couple businesses coming. You can't talk too much, but what's next on the horizon for Todd McGoat?
That's going to stick now. Todd McGoat, baby.
It's done now.
The tech world is driving me nuts with insurance. We have so many damn systems that we have to use, and there's so many repetitive things that are going on, that, let's just say, I'm trying to simplify analytics connecting to marketing systems, so that an agent doesn't have to track their numbers, and that it will automatically adjust marketing for them with the marketing companies that they're using. So, like, adjusting zip codes, adjusting carriers they're targeting, so really becoming the center point of the middleman, let's say, between marketing systems and agencies. Because it's too hard these days to track everything and to try to scale, especially if they drop commissions. That means you got to have higher volumes that are coming through. So really, my next endeavor has to do with how do I help agents become more efficient and automatically connect to marketing systems that are out there.
It's awesome.
I like it.
Sign me up.
Love it. Yeah. Shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
We'll see. There has to be a fail sometime soon. I'm just waiting for it.
Right on, man. Well, thank you again for coming out. This has been fantastic. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
dude,
we'll definitely bring you back on another time and chat some more.
I was going to say, like, a Tuesday training, have him like really do a deep dive into like how he's working all that data and everything. But yeah, seriously, Todd, appreciate you, man. Again, y'all, agency MVP, smarketingmail.com. He is actually, both of those are on our preferred vendor list, right? So if you just search preferred vendor list within the group, you'll pull that. You'll see everything where you can reach out to his rep, Brittany, go to the website, check everything out. So again, definitely, guys, I really encourage you, especially in the PNC space, go take a look at those two companies. Obviously, you can see Todd knows his numbers and he knows that it works, right? He's got proof of the pudding. So again, thank you, Todd, for hopping on, man. It was awesome. And I know our members definitely got some value out of this. So with that,
absolutely.
Syndicate members, this Wednesday, baby, it's the peak of the week, right? Let's keep going. Let's keep crushing. Hit your goals, know your numbers, make those extra calls, right? Be more efficient, right? Let's get after it. And again, Todd, thank you. Thank you, Syndicate members. Love you, Mr. Merwin. And I hope everybody has an amazing week.
See y'all next Wednesday.